The first meeting was actually at Melbourne Grammar School. A man called Alan Eustace, who was then the careers counsellor, and I think that there may have only been 2 schools that had somebody called a career counsellor. I think in a lot of schools it was the school counsellor who did careers as well. But Rick Belshaw was at Wesley and Alan Eustace was at Melbourne Grammar, and those 2 men were very supportive of the whole concept of the association. And Betty was the first president of the association. I think that fairly shortly afterwards she relinquished the position to Donald Murdoch. Now, I think Donald was one of the first of the 11, and he was a very, very powerful influence on the association because he had a lot of negotiating skills, and we were fortunate that there were 2 universities that started postgraduate diplomas in career education at the same time. Rusden Teachers College, which morphed into Deakin University sort of over a period of time, and RMIT. The Rusden course was started by a woman called Vona Byers, and she was supported by Ian Ball, who was also a senior lecturer in psychology. And the RMIT one was run by Judith Biddington, and from the beginning, the sort of curriculum implications of what we were doing was very significant in those 2 postgraduate diplomas. I did the one at Rusden, and Donald did the one at RMIT as students. David did the one at Rusden with me, and then there were a lot of other students from various places. Now, the CAV, I think you've got to go back a bit as well in your own thinking, that subject associations at that time were fairly self-contained, even almost obsessively self-contained. This is my experience. You didn't have to be trying to offer students assistance in making decisions of subject choice and eventually course choice or work choice to realise that they knew practically nothing about the workforce, and their ideas of what it was to be working were, well, based on imagination, I think. And therefore, unless you embedded understanding of the workforce into the curriculum in some way, they were never going to get that broader understanding. They were always going to have these crazy dream ideas. That was probably the biggest fight. I regret to say that I would have said we didn't succeed terribly well. I was very excited about a year ago to attend a function where the principal of the new secondary school in Port Melbourne spoke to the group, and linking to the local community, especially the local industries, and getting them involved in curriculum was one of her principal aims. I nearly sort of stood up and cheered, but I thought this would have been making myself conspicuous. Now, back to the beginning. Subject associations, as I say, were pretty, well, they were not like they are now, and their finances were minuscule. And we operated, when I was secretary, which I don't know whether I was in the beginning or just shortly afterwards, but I certainly was secretary when Donald was chairman, that I can be positive of. So I had a box in which I kept the files of the CAV. Its entire archive was in a box under my bed. And you hand wrote the minutes and typed them up in an inexpert way and sent them out in envelopes. So you kind of have to think back to the primitive nature of what an association was like.